Oh no. We're on the side of the road.
I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
This is usually fairly frightening.
I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
You have to roll your fenders to get really good fitment because the fender comes down and in. So there's an inch of material that's there, and it's all it does is just decapitate your tire and shred it off. So what you got to do is first take off your wheel. All right, don't mind my brakes. I'm replacing those, but now I've got to put my fender roller on. This is the fender roller. It gets bolted in with your lugs. Don't use good lug nuts because it will mess them up. And it's got multiple patterns so it can fit on multiple vehicles. It has an adjustment for going up and down. It has an adjustment for yawing this big skateboard wheel pretty much. And then you have an adjustment to bring the arm in and out. And you have to find a special position that works for your car. And every car is different. So you got to be careful when you're putting this in because you don't want to scratch anything. And when you're jacking up your car to do this, if you're working on the back of the car, jack it up from the back. If you're working on the front of the car, jack up the front. Because your sway bar will fight against you. So since I just jacked up the front and got the whole side of the car up, the sway bar was tense, so this wheel hub was up here because of the sway bar. Now I can finally get my fender puller on because there's all the room I need. So you gotta make sure you're doing that or you're gonna be fighting yourself. I got my fender roller on with 2 wheel nuts, and that's all you need. You just gotta have them snug. So now I've got to get in position my roller to my fender. So I'm looking like I'm pretty far away, so I'm gonna have to get it closer. And since my fender comes out straight, and this is what I was saying about my fender. So the fender goes in and straight, so that really disrupts where the wheel can be. So I've got to push it up first. Like I can't just pull it out like this, because I'll just bend it and all that shit. So I'm gonna have to pivot this guy up, just like this, something like that, so I can bend this up. And once it starts going more straight up, then I can crank this down and then pull the fender out. So I'm gonna start off like this, but bringing it up a little bit too. So I'm gonna have to go up like that. Okay, so I've got my roller into a decent position. So now all I gotta do is start spinning this guy clockwise to get this to come closer to me, to start bending that piece up. But before I do that, I need to heat the paint and fender up. I do not have a heat gun, so I use a torch, and I use a torch from far away, and I just slowly go back and forth, and I don't get anywhere close to the paint, and I don't stop moving my hand, because if I do, I will burn the paint. Anyways, I've done this a million times with a torch, so don't worry about me. But use a hair dryer or a heat gun. You got to get the paint pretty warm to the touch, almost hot, before you can start doing anything, because that makes the paint more flexible so it doesn't crack. All right, I got my fender warm. So now I'm going to start tightening this guy. So I'm gonna spin him in. Actually, it's loose. You gotta loosen it to get it closer. So now she's coming in, and now she's touching. So now I need to get my lever to go in there. So this is how I can tighten and loosen aggressively. But you have to be careful. Like, you can't really do aggressive things unless you're trying to make big changes. So you just gotta go slow. So you gotta loosen this, roll, and it can't be like you're working it. You gotta take your time, just like, it should be very easy to do this. And then you loosen it, go back, loosen it, go back. And then once you see it's starting to do what you want it to do, then you can readjust the actual wheel. All right, that was my first pass. And as you can see, the fender is looking a lot more pulled. It used to look like this, and now it's looking a lot better. A lot more room for tire now. So now I'm going to change the pitch of my wheel. I'm gonna bring him down like that. So I'm gonna flatten it more rather than push the fender up. Because right at the beginning we were pushing this lip up. So now that we have that to a 45 now, then we can start pulling it out so it gets basically metal to metal. So it's just gonna change this angle and bring it to like that. Okay, that turned out really well. So as you can see, I haven't rolled anything here because it doesn't need to be, and it looks better this way. When the car's down, that's what you'll see. And as you go up, you can see I pulled that in, pulled that right in. So there you go. It's just folded right back over. Looks great. It's about as good as it's gonna get. And that's exactly how you do it. You just gotta work, take your time. And here is always gonna be the tightest spot. So say you had it set to one setting and you're rolling it and it's getting tight in the corners, tight in the corners, tight in the corner. It's because this is more exaggerated over here, because this is going back to the car, because it's usually shaped like this, right? So you're going to pull this more than the middle. So what you got to do is you got to basically start working your edges out, and then as you're tightening it, you don't go as far out, and you just keep tightening it and not going as far out, etc., until you're there, and then you're loosening it up. So as I tighten, I get it all the way down very slowly. If you hear any cracking, you stop, because you haven't heated the paint enough, or you're going too quickly with the roller. So you just start at the edges, go in, and then when you're all the way in, then start loosening and then go back all over it. Then you'll have a nice, smooth, perfect rolled fender. And while I'm here, since I made more room in my fender quarter panel, I can lower the car. So I'm gonna lower the car as much as I possibly can. So I'm gonna max it out and see how it works. And I'll try it around in the shop. If it doesn't rub, boom. I'll try and go out of the shop. If it doesn't rub, then it stays. Then I just have to drive accordingly. I like being low as possible. I think everybody does that gets the chance to have a sweet car. Low is a nice feeling. So yeah, I'm just gonna max it out and we'll see how she goes. All right, I'm gonna drop this cousin and see how she's looking. Probably pretty fast dropping. Boom. Tons of room, tons of room. Once it settles in, it'll lower more, so it's gonna look sick. My cousins are gonna dig this for sure. Okay, I got one more side to do. This one has been wrapped, so I'm gonna have a bunch of trouble doing this because I don't want to melt this stuff, right? So I'm just gonna have to take my sweet ass time. I'm gonna time lapse the full one because you've already seen me do the back and it's looking sick. So I'm gonna just concentrate on that, make sure that's done right. And just like that, another pulled fender. So I've got my fingers on the other side, and you can see how thin it is. Like, my finger's right there. It's not even 1/8 of an inch. This one turned out great. Honestly, all of them turned out 99%. I'm really happy. The fitment's gonna be great. Oh yeah, this one turned out mint too. Right now I've got a wheel getting fixed, so that's why I have this boy on here. But that's for another day. All right, so that's how you roll fenders, and it's not crazily hard. You just have to take your time. Obviously it is a skill. But if you try really hard and take your time, you're probably gonna have a pretty good outcome. All right, have a good one. We'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe. Watch all my videos, guys. There's a lot of DIY stuff. Check it out. Damn, that looks so good. Fenders are rolled. It's not gonna rub at all anymore. Mind you, the suspension will drop a little bit once it's driven. It takes a minute to settle in the springs. Got my new side skirts on, and this fitment is fire. That looks so sick. This is gonna drop quite a bit too, because I haven't driven it at all. Looks so good. I'm pretty damn happy with that. I'm gonna go take it for a spin and see if it's gonna rub. Bert McGurk. All right, she's definitely warmed up now. I just had her idling for probably 20 minutes. Then my buddy stopped in and I took him for a ride. So I didn't bother taking the camera. So here we go. Second ride with the new fitment, and hopefully she doesn't rub. No rubbing so far. Here we go. Not rubbing at all. Feels equal. Amazing.
That's my way.
This is usually fairly frightening.
Way.